All right, guys, welcome back to my stock market technical analysis channel. In this video, what I'm going to do is go through what we're seeing to start the week, and in just the general markets. I might look at a couple individual stocks, and then we'll wrap up. I'm going to put out a separate video on the gold miners. I know several of you have been asking for an update on the gold miners, so I'll put out a separate video for anyone that's interested in looking at those gold miners. Let's get into the charts and see what we got going on. We're going to start out with the S&P 500. So on Friday, I mentioned that we held this 350 level, and I thought that was going to be a temporary support, something that might hold for a little while. And so far that's playing out. You can see today all they're doing is buying, and so it is holding. And I mentioned that I cut my short on Friday just to see what's going to happen. And sure enough, still playing out as expected. So what are we looking at? Well, we could easily do a full back test of this gap. And this is an area where I think it'd be objective, I guess, to start a short if you haven't already entered a short position. If you're swing trading, this is really active trading stuff, and it's not necessarily sometimes you just want to ride out the bumps if you're swinging for a bigger trend, which I think is what we're going to get, or I think that's what just happened. We had a big reversal last week, and big reversal pattern with this island cluster top reversal. And so now, oftentimes though, they'll try to shake out anybody who took that short. So what they'll do is they'll run it usually to the top of the gap. They can run it all the way up here, even pop it up into the cluster right here as a stop raid, right into here, and then they'll and then it will roll over from there. So if this wants to, it could easily run all the way up here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look, I'm looking to, get short again, either today or tomorrow, just depending on where this thing wants to go, and then I'll put my stop up here around 320, 350, somewhere right around there. And that is the S&P 500. So bigger picture though, when you roll out, and if we look at like the daily, bigger picture is bearish rising wedge, reversal pattern, broke down, and we should continue to sell down. So whether they want to run it up to the gap and then continue to roll over, I'm not expecting the sell-off to just be a complete drop down. The reason why is we just had a very impulsive, resilient uptrend right here in this market. So people don't necessarily know that the trend has changed, And so you'll see, I think what you're going to see in the beginning is it's kind of the non-believing decline, or what's also called the slope of hope. Bear markets fall the slope of hope. Bull markets rise the wall of worry. So slope of hope is you fall, you have an impulsive fall, and then there's hope. Things are not so bad, and people buy the dip, and then it falls again, and then, and that just continues. And so what I expect to see is, instead of having just a complete panic selling, you're going to have a slow kind of grind lower. It's going to work its way lower over time. And then there will be, at some moment, a realization point where the bulls, come to terms with the fact that they're wrong, and then they all exit at once, or the majority of them do. So and then you can get some steep sell-offs. But for now, I think we're gonna just kind of work our way lower. Let's go to the Qs here. Qs is. So here's this channel that I have. I marked it out on the daily chart. I was looking at it, trying to get a little cleaner. And here's the daily chart. So this is going to give you a bigger picture trend. And you can see that we overshot that bearish rising wedge right there. And then we came down last week pretty impulsively, just like the rest of the market. We undercut the support. Here's your support. And we've now since recovered it. So maybe what we do is we pop to these highs right here, 237.60. That's the former all-time high right here going back. So maybe we pop up to there, and hold resistance in that area, and then we're going to break. That's what I think is going to happen. But again, we need to kind of wait to see what's going to happen and confirm that. Apple and Microsoft are going to help us confirm that, and they have not broken their uptrend lines right now. Here's Microsoft. Here's the trend line right here on the hourly chart, and you can see we came down to it, tagged it, we're bouncing off of it. So you want to wait to see some sort of a break of that. That will help the major indices. And then here's Apple, same thing. Here's your trend line. It's just, moved down. Buyers stepped in. They're buying it up a little bit. I think we're going to continue lower, but you got to wait for the break. Here's this DraftKings trade idea that I put out there. Just an idea. And I took it. I got short. What I did, though, this morning, I saw that the rest of the market was starting to ramp and rally. So I cut my short in this, and I just bought it. I reestablished it right here on this kickback rally. So look here. This is a nice clean uptrend line in DraftKings. Several reactions. I'm looking at an hourly chart. Reaction, reaction, reaction. Here's another one. And then we broke last week. And it wasn't that impulsive. I mean, it was a gap down, so it was impulsive. But when you break a trend line, there's usually two things that you do. One, you just, completely come straight down. Or two, and especially when you're in such a resilient market right now, you back test. And that's what this is. So we've got, we went sideways a little bit, and then we're shooting up and doing a full back test today. I kind of saw that I wanted to do that, so I cut my short. And I just reshorted it right up here. So I kind of sidestepped most of this 11% gain today. And then that, I think that will help on the way down. So looking for this to now roll over after this back test. And target right now is just going to be this $30 range. But that's a nice trade. I mean, from here, if you're going to short this today, that is a 26% gain, so we'll take that, and that's what I'm looking at. And now I'll go through a couple stocks that people asked me to look through, and then we'll wrap. So here's Boeing. Here's what I see in Boeing. There's a couple things. One, we've got this trend line right now. This is an hourly chart, and so if I roll out, you can see this is kind of what's going on. Here's your hourly chart. Here's your support right here. We undercut the support right there and closed, but the following day recovered it. So you want to look for that. If you undercut something but then recover it the very next day or the very next candle, then that's a whipsaw signal. So you want to look for those. And today's still trading above support. However, we do have island cluster top right up here, and that is a reversal pattern. So island cluster top, reversal, and then sell off. So it looks like they're doing what I'm talking about, where they try to run the stops or the shorts out. They run in, they fill the gap, and what they usually like to do is run it, somewhere in the middle of the cluster right here. So I suspect that this thing will run up to somewhere right in here and then top out. I don't know exactly where, but and again, this is just what I'm suspecting will happen. They'll run it up into here, then top out, then this thing will roll over and break this uptrend. So that's what this looks like for now. If they can pop above the highs of this island cluster top and hold this support, then I would say that remains to be bullish. So short term, this still short, very, very short term, this is bullish. But medium to longer term, or medium term, I guess, is bearish. Short term, this can run up and fill this area, but in the medium term, I see it, because of the island top reversal, I see it breaking the trend and heading lower. But until that trend line right here is broken, you don't have anything telling you that, except for this island top reversal. Here's Viacom. Someone asked me about this one. This chart's kind of sloppy. There is a rally happening, obviously, like the rest of the market. It looks a lot like the S&P 500, but I don't see anything technically broken on this uptrend as of right now. I'm trying to draw the lines. There's just not a lot of good reaction points to connect my trend lines. It kind of chops through a lot of these to make a nice clean trend. So in general, it's an uptrend. and that's really all I can say. It's uptrending. Could break like the rest of the market. I mean, I suspect if the rest of the market and the SPY head south, this one will as well. But as of right now, just uptrending, impulsively moving higher today. So that's all I see. So what I would look for is kind of watch the general markets on this. I don't see much else to go off of. Here's Walmart real quick just to cover this one. Looks like we're bear flagging. That is where you basically just consolidate. Looks like we're just going to flag around this support line here and then ultimately break. So your flag pole is like this, and then it looks like it's starting to make a flag. I mean, it is starting to make a flag. It's just how long does the flag go for? Like that. And then you break, and your measured target is something like that on this next move. So ultimately, if we get down here, I think we're heading down to the bottom of this wedge. So that's what Walmart looks like to me as of right now. Here's oil, or ExxonMobil, I guess, which is one of the largest oil conglomerates. So look, here's what you got. You got the uptrend line right here on the hourly. We overshot. We started to do this kind of melt up phase, just like the rest of the market. We gapped down, so we created an island cluster top. See the island basically where you have a gap on both sides, gap and a gap here. So island cluster top broke down, and in that creating that top, when we broke down and sold off, we also broke the trend line right here. So broke the trend line, created an island top reversal. Looks like it wants to do a back test up to here. That might be all she wrote for this one, and then it probably heads lower. So again, just probabilities, but that's what I see is going on there. All right, here's Tesla. Tesla is one that I don't like to trade a lot of Tesla. It's a what do they call it? A cult stock. People buy it just because they like it. They don't buy it based on fundamentals or anything else. They just buy it because it's going higher. It's like Bitcoin kind of to me. It can go up and just go crazy for no apparent reason. So, but we'll mark it out. All right. So here's what we were watching earlier in Tesla. We had this trend line that was holding as resistance, and they popped it right here, but it still held as resistance. But eventually, it was able to overcome this trend line basically right here. It popped it, and then it was holding above, and you can see comes down, does a back test, it holds. So that's one look right there. Another thing is we have this trend line from the lows that we just made, and it was broken right here. And this looks to be, all this price action right here looks to be like a back test of that trend line, which could signal that the next leg down is coming for Tesla. But moving in short term, we have this short term support right here. They undercut it, but it was recovered. So I would be looking for this. The way I'd play this, if you're interested, and again, this is just my opinion, not trading advice or investing advice for sure. But the way I'd look at it personally is I'd wait for a break of this support, a nice solid break of it. Wait for like a daily close, basically. If you go to the daily, get a daily close. Yet you see it hasn't closed a daily candle below it. This was just intraday right here today. And again on Friday, it undercut it, but still closed above it. So wait for the daily close below it, and then let it run down here. And that could be an area to take profit down at this trend line right here, or take some profit, I suppose. And then if it breaks that, we could run all the way down to this 3. There's a gap that we need to fill. Sorry, not 350. I don't see it going that far anytime soon, but of course it could. Here's your gap at 650. So that still hasn't been filled. See this gap right here? I'm expecting that gap to get filled at some point, and it will. But so I'd wait for a break, a daily close of here, swing it down to this support line, take some profit, and then maybe ride the rest down to fill the gap at 650, and then that would be the trade for me. So that's how I would do that. And SQ, and I'll just mark this one up as we go to give you guys an idea of kind of how I do it. Again, we're looking for lots of reactions, and there it is. This one pops right out to me. When you do this a lot, you can usually spot them pretty easily. So this was a bearish rising wedge. You can see, yep, nice clean chart there, really. Here's your bearish rising wedge right here, and we just bounced within the wedge all the way until we broke. And here's the break of the wedge, but it wasn't that impulsive. So then you get the back test, runs up and back test, and now we're just chopping sideways, kind of working our way lower. You can see we're making a little bit of lower highs. Here's equal highs right here, starting to work lower if this holds, and we're making lower lows too. Here's a low and then a lower low right there. So we're trending downward slightly. But we had the back test, had the break of the big bearish pattern. So this one I see as being bearish. What I would wait for, if not, if looking to trade this, I wouldn't want to go long this only because it broke the bearish pattern. It had the clean back test. Those were your opportunities to go long. Now it's more of a bearish pattern. So you could just draw the channel out, something like that, and maybe we're gonna work our way lower. That's how I trade this one. I think this goes lower ultimately, but again, it's going to depend on where the markets go. You've got a level right here, right there. So there's a short-term target for SQ 76.28. I think we at least run down and tag that, and that's going to be a drop of 15.5%. So we'll leave it at that. I'm gonna wrap up. I covered some stocks. Give me a thumbs up, guys. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll put out a separate video on gold miners. I might do that towards the end of the day, and put that out. But thank you, appreciate it.